We're on TV.
Very excited.
You're on air. Go ahead.
Okay, welcome to the Chaska Human Rights Commission. It's Thursday, April 26th, 2018. And we're going to start the meeting with a roll call. Nate?
Chairperson Welbert,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Dunbar is absent. Robert Kim.
Here.
Jeff Philippek is also absent. Donzo Leggett.
Here.
Kaylee Haga.
Here.
Lisa White.
Here.
And Sarah Carlson is absent tonight. So with two
You
regular...
didn't call my name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Barbara Colhat, sorry. And she's here. I'm sorry about that. So with two regular members absent tonight, and Sarah gone, Lisa, you'll be able to vote on items tonight.
Okay. I hope everybody's gotten a chance to look at the agenda. If you want to take a look at it, then we can, after we read through it, adopt the agenda. Does it look good?
I can make a motion to approve the agenda.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the agenda for tonight is adopted. The next item on our agenda is that we'd like to announce the resignation of Chairperson Jeff Philippek.
Not chairperson.
I mean, Chairperson, Commissioner. We gave him a promotion and he left. For Commissioner Jeff Philippek, he is moving out of the city of Chaska and therefore he can't serve on the commission anymore. I'd just like to say I really enjoyed working with Jeff, getting to know him, and I am really happy that he will still be very nearby in Carver and will still be working in Chaska. So we will get to see him often and work with him as much as we can.
Yeah, I think importantly to note with Jeff is that, you know, he's a spearhead for that MLK breakfast that went really well earlier this year, and also he's indicated that he's interested to continue to work on that project as president of the Southwest Metro Chamber, because they were a partner in that last year, and so him moving away and having to resign from the Human Rights Commission won't impact his involvement in that program. So
We'll
that's
still
a nice
keep him
thing.
close.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that, and yeah, he did spearhead it and initiated the event, so I would like to see us honor that and work with Jeff with the MLK breakfast as much as possible.
Okay, for open forum guest presentation.
So, one second, I'm just
Okay.
going to hold you there. Before we move on, we do need to appoint one of the alternates into Jeff's spot. So we could do that now, or if you prefer, that could be an item that maybe we take up in new business. However you would like to do that.
Maybe we should do that in new business. Is that okay with people, so we don't get into conversation and have the guests wait?
Sure.
Yeah, I think we could table that, especially since Sarah's not here. It would be good to get her feedback on.
Yep. Yep.
So-
See if she's still able to come.
Yeah.
Sure. Sounds good.
Okay. Now, we'd like to welcome our guests tonight. We have Corey Megstadt and Dean Seal here. Maybe Bob will be here shortly. And they are here to talk with us about some housing projects. We'd like to thank you for coming. Our open forum time is around 10 or 15 minutes for a presentation, and then we'll have some time for questions and answers after that. So whenever you're ready.
Well, I probably won't take a full 10 or 15 minutes, but so we'll leave more time for questions. So I'm assuming you guys are mostly interested in the housing project that we kind of worked through last year and then kind of got turned back around and revamped. And so we have made a lot of progress on that project. And so for those of you who weren't kind of in the loop on that, because I know we do have some new members of the commission, we put together a proposal last year. I've been leading a team, a shelter team that's been basically saying we have a gap in services in Carver County for single adult shelter. And so we have Families Moving Forward, which does an awesome job with families who are experiencing homelessness. We also have the Hope House in Chanhassen, which does a great job with youth that are experiencing homelessness. But if you're early 19 plus in Carver County, we don't have any emergency housing of any kind. And so we've been working on that project for a couple of years. Last January, February, a significant donor stepped up and said that they would give $2 million towards the building of a project that we looked at, kind of combining a few needs together. A 30-unit apartment building, which would be kind of transitional supportive housing, along with a 10 to 12-bed shelter, emergency housing. And so we worked through a process of applying for some state tax credits, which basically would have made the building pay for itself, a $6.5-ish million building that would have, that $2 million would have paid for in full. Worked through with the city of Chaska, and the commissioners decided that the site that we had chosen a few blocks away from here was not well suited for the kind of project we were looking for. And so we kind of went back to the drawing board a little bit to figure out how we move forward with that. And so circle back around to this year. We have an existing building in another community in Carver County that's come on the market that we currently have a purchase agreement in place to really kind of break out the two projects for now. So it's really going to focus on that shelter piece, which is what we're really working on doing. So currently we have a purchase agreement in place on a building that would work as a 12-bed shelter. That's 12 individual rooms with the possibility of expanding up to around 19 beds, depending on how we want to operate that. There's a lot of kind of pending ifs on this, like there are with any projects of this nature. Big one is we're still waiting for final confirmation from the funder that the check is in the mail, so to speak. We're working on the different agencies that we were kind of talking to as to who would operate the shelter. We've got some great agencies that have submitted LOIs, and so working on that process with them of interviewing and figuring out who is the best, kind of best suits the needs of Carver County, gets the people here, gets our values of the different agencies and community groups that have been working on this together, make sure we just have a good, solid fit. With that purchase, though, also comes an adjacent piece of property that is zoned for multifamily dwellings. And so there's a possibility of that future apartment building or something of that nature being kind of a next phase of this project. So we're really excited. It seems like things are all kind of falling into place for us on this, but obviously there's still a lot of hurdles to jump over to make sure that this project moves forward successfully. So that's kind of, I guess, the essence of the the update on that. I'm sure there's plenty of questions around that, though.
That's great news, Corey. What assistance can we provide at this point?
Yeah, I think, given that the building is not in Chaska, obviously you guys are, I think letters of support along the way could certainly still be something that we would warrant, and it's a facility that's going to serve all of Carver County, so Chaska is certainly included. So a letter of support of something of that nature would be great. When we get to the point of community meetings and some other things, there may be some opportunity for you as citizens to come out and maybe even not in your role as the Human Rights Commission, but just as concerned citizens of Carver County. There could certainly be some opportunities there. And then certainly once, assuming all of these things fall into place, there will be, I think, some great opportunities to work with that new provider that comes in and help them figure out both of the agencies that have have submitted LOIs. One has worked in Carver County, others have not. And so those, depending on who ends up being selected, there's a lot of relationship building, a lot of need for them to do some ongoing fundraising, to figure out volunteers, all of those kinds of things that come with operating a project of this nature. So I think down the road, there will be certainly more opportunities for you guys to get involved.
That's great. Where is this, this particular shelter? I missed which city is it in Carver or where?
It is in another city in Carver
Oh,
County.
you can't say. Okay. All right. Okay.
We're just, especially given the
That's
public
okay.
nature of this forum,
That's okay.
we're keeping a little bit on the down low, just.
So if everything proceeds as scheduled, when will you be able to start providing service? When do you think beds would be open for folks to?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that by this fall, there's a realistic possibility of being up and running. More realistically, fall is kind of the optimist, but we'd really love, before it snows again, that by this next winter, we actually have a shelter option.
Is it such that they can move in and be ready for tenants?
Yeah, I'd call it move-in ready-ish.
Okay.
There's there's a commercial kitchen that's fantastic. There's a beautiful like lobby waiting area that's in great condition. Probably the one thing, just and we haven't done a final inspection yet, but just kind of in our non-professional walkthrough, the floors probably need to be redone, or at least significantly fixed up. But that's really about the only major maintenance thing it looks like. So other than that, we should be pretty ready to go.
So Corey, you mentioned funding and the agencies to operate as a couple of contingencies.
Yep.
Anything with planning and licensing and permits, have they all been, are they
Yeah, so
pretty much expected? Do you expect any?
with permits and licensing, so it's already, the building is already zoned properly,
Okay.
so that's a huge hurdle that we don't have to worry about. As far as licensing, generally it's as long as you just kind of follow the procedures and turn in the right forms, it should be pretty straightforward.
Okay, so you don't expect any problems or issues?
We're not
with
expecting
that?
any. Yeah, I mean, it's well situated, like location-wise, it's not near residents who will have a problem. It's been used for similar kinds of things in the past. So there's a lot that's going in its favor. But really, though, we can't do much with licensing until we have the provider, because it's not the facility that's licensed, it's the provider who licenses the facility, so until that person's in place. So there's a lot of like, we're really ready to run on a bunch of stuff, but we're kind of in like hurry up and wait mode, and then once we have a couple things click, then we can really take off.
So are there multiple agencies you have to get in line to support this, or are they already?
Yeah, so basically every agency that works with those experiencing homelessness has been part of all the planning. And so our agency, Launch Ministry, the CAP agency, the CDAs of both counties, the housing coordinators in both counties, a number of pastors, faith community. So basically everyone who's kind of involved in the housing and homeless world is behind the project.
Corey, can you describe maybe how, once this project gets up and running, it will work to benefit the clients, if you will, of Launch Ministries? How will this help you further Launch Ministries and the great work that you're doing there?
Yeah, so for us, one of the more heartbreaking experiences that we have, so our drop-in center is open from 2 to 5 every afternoon. And when we walk out at 5 o'clock and have to tell a young person, well, good luck, or we drop you off at the community center or at a bus station, and they don't know where they're going that night, and I mean, that's tough, and it happens probably 3 or 4 times a week for us. And so, I mean, so for us, just to be able to have locally a place where we can the young people that are from our neighborhoods and our communities can go to have a safe place to sleep, can get a meal in the evening, meal for breakfast, have people walking alongside them to help figure out why are you in the situation to begin with, what's the path forward, and have some space to do it. I mean, so much of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when you're in crisis, the things that you're worried about are, where am I going to sleep tonight? Where am I going to find some food tonight? Maybe find some money. Those are the basics of what's going on. And so the kinds of things that help the young person move forward, employment, transportation, all of those things require stability. And so to have a place where you can be up to 90 days to just get yourself a little bit grounded, get your head cleared a little bit, start thinking and dreaming a little bit more about where to go. 90 days still isn't a lot of time, but it at least starts the process, gets them on waiting lists for other housing programs, helps them figure out where to go next. So for us, it takes a huge burden off of this not knowing where a young person can go, and then really helps to lay the groundwork for a more positive future.
So you said it's a 12-bed, maybe up to 19 eventually.
Yep.
How many people, young adults like this, do you see at lunch ministry a week? Or?
Yeah, so in the first quarter of 2018, we've seen 101 young people come through our drop-in center. Of those, they're basically split right down the middle as far as gender, 50 men, 50 female, 1 transgender. And then of those 101, exactly half are what we can definitionally call homeless. That would mean either couch hopping or HUD homeless, which is sleeping outside or in a car or someplace not meant for human habitation. Those other 50 are still kind of they're coming for our mentoring programs, they're still coming for food and other support. Many of those are youth that were homeless and that we've helped get housed. Many of them are just needing support in other ways, but they're all kind of at risk of potentially becoming homeless. Those who meet the definition of homelessness, again, in the first 3 months, we've seen around 50 that have come through.
And that's just Chaska?
That's just, here in Chaska. They're not all from Chaska.
And this is for all of Carver County?
So we do see youth from, so our numbers are about 60% are from Carver County, about 35% Scott County, and the other 5% are nearby Hennepin County, so Eden Prairie, Excelsior, stuff like that. But they're all from the Southwest Metro. We don't have any that are coming out from the city they'd be welcome to. We certainly would provide services, but we just don't see that.
Well, I certainly congratulate you on this element of hope that you're giving the homeless.
Yes.
Thank you.
With whom you contact.
Much appreciated. I do want to make sure we leave a little bit of time for Dean. I know there was another there's a project that's in the works that he wanted to share a little bit about, which is another group agency project. So,
Can I ask one more question?
yes, of course.
Did you say that the residents just need to be 18 to be there? Is there an upper age limit?
Nope.
I know at launch there's
So launch, and that's one of the reasons why we wouldn't be interested in operating this program as we've never really done shelter, and so it would be kind of new for us anyway, but we're pretty laser focused on young adults, but we recognize that there is a need for, we'll have 35, 45, 55-year-olds that pop into our drop-in center because there are no other resources, and we'll still often help them with food or other supplies, but that's not our main focus. And so this will help kind of that whole range, the 70-year-old who can't afford their rent anymore because after they retired or whatever, which there are stories of elderly in our community that are living in cars or not having a place to go. So we certainly would want to be able to help them as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corey.
Hi, I want to introduce myself. I'm Pastor Dean Seal from Shepherd of the Hill Church of Chaska. We have the big red chair out front. We totally support everything that Mr. Magstead is doing. We are generalists. Our primary focus is on families moving forward, which is families who sleep in churches. And there's a network of about 30 churches in this area so that they can sleep in a church every week of the year. 4 families at a time will sleep in a church. We feed them. Families Moving Forward trains them so that they have a better handle on their financial situation, and then helps them to find a place. We need everything. We need housing for seniors because they can't afford to move out of their houses because there is no affordable housing for them to move into. That means that their houses that they have to hang on to, which means they're not recycled back to young families. We need housing for, this group that Corey's working with has been hosted at Shepherd of the Hill. Government agencies in Scott and Carver County, a bunch of nonprofits. We've done a significant amount of vetting to understand the people who can fill in the role of caring for the people if this homeless shelter gets to open. But we've also identified different groups of people that need help. Our focus is on families because if one household is homeless, that means like 4, 5, 6 people are homeless. Most of the people we've worked with are people with jobs, with cars, and we just don't build them a place to live. Amazon and Mystic Lake are both sending buses into the Twin Cities to pick up workers because Shakopee doesn't build any affordable housing. In the old days, a mill town would build the mill and then housing and then the town so that there'd be a place for their workers to live. It's not the case anymore. So these people are being paid really low wages, can't afford to live in the expensive housing around here. So that's a preamble. One thing that Carver County is doing with Jen Romero is a thing called Fast Track. It's, this is what I'm advocating today. It's where a family might have an apartment lined up, a job lined up, a car lined up. They have everything except a damage deposit. They need like between $1,000 and $2,000 to move in. And a fast track means they just write a check to the landlord and then they can move in. And what it does is it prevents that family from being homeless. If a family goes homeless and uses county resources to go through the process, it can cost between $12,000 and $14,000. And if we do it this way, it costs $2,000. And instead of being homeless for like 8 months, very disruptive to their life, they get right into the apartment. Jen Romero got a 2-year grant to do 10 of these fast track grants. They used 8 of them in the first 3 months. So it works. There is demand. They turned away 34 different families. And so now we're going around looking for other places that can fund this program. One of the applications is to the POLAD Foundation, which is opening up $4 million worth of grants a year for 2 years. And we're going to be part of a pool of people who are applying for grants from Carver County. The thing I'm advocating is for the fast tracking for families. Okay? So that's being managed by the CAP agency. Jen Romero from your own Carver County is managing it. She can answer every question about it. She's an amazingly effective administrator. And so this is the best way to prevent homelessness. So I'm not proposing anything now, except we're going to come to you with a request for a letter of support when the time comes when the county gets together as to how they want to present this to the POLAD Foundation. So I got this. I only have one copy, but you can keep it. It's a list of different things like housing instability. There's 11,000 households that are in the Twin Cities that are unstable and on the edge of homelessness. And then on the other side is showing the dramatic disparities. There's a small percentage of African Americans who are in the population and a much larger percentage of them who are homeless. So these things can be addressed. And also we're part of Beacon Interfaith Housing, which runs Families Moving Forward. They believe we can end homelessness within our lifetime. And so we have the mechanisms to do that. So anyway, I am a resource. And if you ever want to know more, you can get a hold of me at the church. Any questions for me?
Any estimated time, Dean, or date when you think you would need or like that letter of support? Is that more in the fall? Is that over the summer?
No, it's going to be pretty soon. The request for the proposals is in to let them know we're going to present is in May, and then the actual proposal will be required in June, and they'll have a decision by September, just in time for the snow.
Yes. Thanks for everything you're doing with Families Moving Forward. Thank you, Corey. fantastic work.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dean.
Did you guys have any further questions for Dave? He knows more sort of some of the details of things regarding the housing project.
Like the community it's in?
What's that?
I said like you know the community that it's in?
Barber County.
He knows, he just
I'm
won't
kidding.
say.
I'm
Thank you, Dean.
Thanks, Dean.
Is there an estimated, or a strategic plan that would say with the site you have next door, where you would want to build and what the estimated cost might be to do that?
Yeah, so actually, I'm going to hand out, this is our, So,
Can you just say
again, I
your
assume
name
Corey-
for us too, please?
Yeah.
Can you just say your name so we
Sure.
know who you are? Thanks.
I'm Dave Corney, and I'm working with Community Asset Development Group. What I do to keep busy. But I've been working with the group on the homeless, and really my focus has been trying to pull together a project. Or I talked about kind of the need and the issue that is out here. I mean, quite frankly, as up until probably a year ago, I didn't really understand the extent of homelessness that exists in suburbs. But I do know now, you'd much rather be homeless in Minneapolis than in Chaska or Maple Grove or Woodbury. And all of those places have homeless people that are struggling with homelessness. But as Corey pointed out, people that are homeless in the suburbs have a different, there's a different reason that they're homeless typically, and it's a different challenge of how do you find and move back into kind of a more normal housing situation. About a year ago, we were sitting down at the coffee shop, which is what I do every morning now, and the night before, a couple of us had been at the Beacon session on just talking about homelessness. The police chief was there and he said, you know, you guys doing some development things now, you should really develop one. And I kind of giggled. But as we talked about it, we said, you know, maybe there is a way to put something together. And that really led us to having a discussion with Mike Lindell at My Pillows, who has indicated an interest in supporting the homeless people. And he's pledged $2 million to develop a facility out here. So for the last year and a half, we've been working on putting that together. Initially, we thought what we would do is go out and buy a building. And the sense that we had from people that are in the business of supporting people who struggle with housing really recommended not to do that. They said, all you're going to do is take up other affordable housing. What we need to do is build something new and have it be focused directly to people in this kind of need, so that not only can we have housing in the facility, we can have support services. For a lot of social issues, people live with it for a lifetime. That's not true with suburban homelessness. It's one of the social problems we can solve. People are in a stable housing environment for 4 to 6 months. They can transition back and live in what we would call a normal life. They just need that ability to transition. So that's what this project that we've been talking about. We have identified a site in Chaska on Hickory Street for a 28-unit building. The building would be, again, we've all struggled with what we should call it, but I call it transitional housing, supportive housing. These are people who would live in the facility for 6 to 24 months. During that time, they would be having some counseling, get back into a normal job market, and then transition out typically into some other rental situation. The total cost of the project is $5.5 to $6 million. We have, in addition to the $2 million, we've identified another $5 million, or 500,000, I wish it was 5 million. And then to complete the financing, there are programs through the state. Last year, when we had put kind of the package together, to be honest, we knew that we were going to get the remaining funding through the state. We needed to complete some additional things. One of those was obtain a letter of support from the city, and the city council elected not to provide the letter of support. And so as a result, we could have continued the application process. The ownership of this group, it's a local nonprofit, it's called the Community Asset Foundation. That board said they would not proceed unless they had local city council and local community support, so they put it on hold. In addition to that project, we're working on a second one in another community, which I'm not at liberty to say where it is officially yet. But we've identified a building that we think can work really well for more of that emergency shelter, which is a totally different need. There is no shelter in, by the way, you didn't tell them where the site was, did you? Sometime just talk. Okay. Okay. I don't know.
Carver County, that's all we know.
It's in Carver County. But a shelter is a totally different type of project and a different need. There is no shelter facility in Carver and Scott counties. On a given night, there can be 15 to 20 people that are looking for a place to live. And that might even be understating the ones that could use a shelter. Back in January of this year, Carver County had 95 individuals on their certified homelessness list. Now, first of all, that isn't everybody, because not everybody would have gone through the county, but that number just struck me as unbelievable almost. Carver County, if you're not aware, is the richest county in the state. Some statistics show that Scott and Carver are in the top dozen counties in the nation on disposable income. And to imagine that we can have homeless people living in our communities, it just seems to me we need to solve that problem. And people that end up being homeless here are, homeless people don't transition well from one county to another. If you end up homeless and you're in Washington County, you don't come out to Chaska and be homeless. You end up being homeless in your community because it's not a choice. So the people that we would be serving in these facilities would be our neighbors. People ask me, well, are they all going to be Carver County residents? And we say, no, they're homeless. But are we going to get an influx of people, homeless people from Minneapolis coming out to Chaska? No. That's just not how homelessness works. Quite frankly, it's the other way. People from Chaska go to Minneapolis because they have facilities. So that's the kind of our vision. Part of the reason we began exploring the second option of a shelter is we became convinced that if we could pull together the right project, that the $2 million donation could support more than just a 28-unit apartment building. Both of the projects that we're trying to put together need to be 100% funded. You can't go out and borrow money because you can't pay off the debt. People that are living there are homeless. The bigger challenge is you have to generate some ongoing income, not so much to support the building, but to support the support services that are required. Again, you can't just take homeless people that are transitioning and have them live in a normal apartment environment without some support, because there's reasons they ended up into that situation, and they need some counseling and assistance to be able to transition back into society. So it's, we're really excited about it. You know, we've been doing this kind of as a side project. The real people that that I've become impressed with is the people like Corey and other people that work on this day to day, because there is a lot of people that are trying to address the problem in both Carver and in Scott counties. Their challenge has been they just haven't had facilities that they can use to solve the problem. So that's our goal, is to get the facilities together, and then we're going to turn it over and let Corey solve the problem.
So Dave,
Yes.
you talked about the two different projects, and it sounds like there's a real possibility for this shelter thing to happen sooner than later. Is the transitional housing thing still hoping to get done sometime in the future, or is that just kind of waiting to see what happens with the shelter?
It's our vision is to do both.
Okay.
When we went through this City of Chaska process last time, I'd say there were two key reasons, no, three. Three reasons that we didn't get support. One, the site that we had identified was, it shows up as future office. It's at Hickory and Old 212. It just recently was changed from what was designated as mixed use, which would have allowed apartments. So we would have had to have a change in the comprehensive plan. I'll just say it's an ideal site for this type of housing because it is right in the walking distance to things that are offered in the community, and relates to the second issue we had a fair amount of neighborhood opposition, which was surprising to us because there really aren't any neighbors. So that's one of the things we're working on, is doing a better job of sitting down with the neighbors and educating them of what this is. The third reason that we had, articulate this, is that we heard elected officials saying to us that Chaska's done so much more on affordable housing than other communities in eastern Carver County, and until the other communities do something, we're not going to. You know, this is a lot easier to do now that I don't have to work for the city. You know, I just think they're wrong. It's our problem. Just because somebody else isn't solving the county problem, that doesn't mean we shouldn't be. But we took that to heart. It's one of the reasons we've kind of delayed this building, because we're very optimistic that when we come back with our project in Chaska, we will say, well, by the way, other communities are doing something. And that's not an issue anymore. So our time frame, originally we were really focused on coming right back to the city about right now, because for the state funding, that needs to be an application that gets in by the 1st of June. We've decided we're not going to be able to meet that criteria. So it'll end up being either a different type of state funding that doesn't require this June date, or it will be next June. So next April, we would be back through the city.
Thank you for that great explanation
Right.
and
Thank you.
updating us on what's going on. So if you guys can keep us informed of ways that we can help, that would be great. I mean, you know, we have an interest in the project, and if there's a way we can lend support, then just let us know.
Thank you. Great job.
Okay, now we're going to go super fast through the rest of our agenda, okay, guys?
All right. Let's make it happen.
Okay, so has everyone read the minutes from the March 22nd meeting?
Yes.
We got those emailed out to us, so if there are no changes to it, we can approve the minutes from the March meeting.
I so move.
I seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the minutes from the March meeting are now approved. Which brings us to the treasurer's report by Nate, please.
Treasurer's report. We spent, I think, about $10 on the business cards for Commissioner Dunbar, and that's it. So we remain at, what would that be? $1,990 for this year that could be spent.
Are we calendar year, or is it June to July?
Calendar year. Yeah, a little less sense of urgency then.
Any questions about the treasurer's report? Do we have to motion to accept it, or do we just move on?
We can move on.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna look at some old business from the last time. First of all, we had talked about dementia-friendly communities. Last time we had our guest speakers here, and Kaylee had volunteered to talk to some people in Chanhassen, and so if you want to update us on that.
Sure. I talked to a couple of different people. I talked to Charmaine Al-Jaff, who is with the city of Chanhassen. She was my first person that I spoke with. And she gave me a little bit more background. The thing that I was hoping to get was just a little bit more context for the commission to understand sort of what was involved before we would move forward. And for Chan, the process was about 2 years long to get from phase 1 start to phase 4. They started in December of 2015 and kind of wrapped up the work in December of 2017, although as has been pointed out to me repeatedly, this is ongoing work. It's not something that you finish. You keep doing community events and working with your partners. She talked about they had a core group of about 6 to 7 people, your police department, your business community, that it was really important to get a diverse mix of community leaders engaged early on in the process. For them, it was about $14,000 over the course of the 2 years. Some of that was through the Act on Alzheimer's grant. Some of that was through Carver County, through their through the SHIP program. I mean, it sounded like it was a good thing for the community. They have ongoing events that they do to sort of provide training to businesses. There's online trainings and things like that that can be done. Also, in the process of talking to her, I learned that Watertown is actually they're basically a month behind us. They're getting their presentation this month from Act on Alzheimer's, and they're considering doing something in Watertown as well. So she actually referred me to Lindsay Jurasek, who works for Carver County. And she was great. We didn't have a ton of time, but she was super helpful. Said that there are SHIP dollars that could help the city of Chaska if they want to do this. And she has capacity to work on this right now, to be a staff resource if the city wanted to pursue this. And that timeline and investment really is scalable. There's a needs assessment that's really important is in that first phase to determine sort of where the gaps in services are in the community and what the needs are. And we have some senior living and assisted living facilities in Chaska that might be good resources to help us sort of speed along that process. But so she has capacity. She did mention it's extremely important to have your city council 100% behind you. And there is a significant time commitment. Chan had a city staffer that was part of their, that kind of led that, that process. It doesn't have to be somebody from the city, but I think that that's, if we decide that we want to present to the city council, I think that we should have some sense of what that committee might look like and what the capacity is on the city side to support any sort of work like this moving forward. So it's scalable in terms of length of time, in terms of cost. One of the things that Charmaine mentioned to me is that when they developed their resource guide, they really took a county-wide approach to that. They wanted to have resources that were accessible and available for folks across the county. And then they just have an index that's Chanhassen specific. So she's got like 20 boxes of that. And she said, please come take a couple boxes for whatever you need. So for River City Days or whatever, they've got stuff that they're looking to help provide more resources for. So there's also a dementia-friendly training. It's a 1-hour training at the Chanhassen Library in June. I'll include that in the minutes if folks want to kind of go through that and see what that training looks like and understand what that looks like. So my thought, just as I was thinking about it, was that I think if this group decides that this is something that we want to pursue, having a couple of folks from the commission meet with Lindsay and get a better sense of sort of what that structure looks like. But I think that the next step would probably be the city council. I mean, I don't think I'm wrong there. That it's got to be a city engagement piece, whether it's volunteer driven or we have city resources engaged. I think we need to get them on board. I know that the county commissioners are big fans of the program, but I think it's going to take some work and some resources, and certainly I don't have the capacity to be on that. But it was a good conversation. I was encouraged by Lindsay saying that she has the time, and there are SHIP dollars available for Chaska if we want to move forward with it. So there's potential for them to provide some financial support too. So that's what I have.
That's great news that she actually has time to work on
Right,
it,
I was really
too.
surprised. It's not something as a public employee that frequently you hear, so.
Right. I would recommend that, you know, if the group does decide that you want to move forward and try to build support with the council, it might be a nice step to both meet with staff at Carver County who could provide some support, but then pull in, me, and I can see if there's other staff at the city that would make sense to be a part of that meeting. So we'll need to understand that at the staff level, what the commitment would be able to represent that to the council so they understand what our capacity is in light of everything else to take on this initiative and think about the timing to do that and that sort of thing. So I think it would be helpful to take a little bit of time to do some prep work on the back end and continue to do the sort of exploration phase that we're in right now, I guess, and build that case a little bit more. So when we get to council, I think the goal would be, if we're going to move forward, that we've got a real, actionable plan put together with resources behind it so they can have some confidence in giving that directive.
I think it still sounds like a fantastic program. It sounds like there is quite a lot of legwork involved with getting it started, and I'm wondering if anybody has an interest or time and energy that they would want to commit to going to meetings, kind of doing some groundwork so that we can, lend our support as a commission where we can. But it sounds like it's a couple people that are going to have to get it off the ground first.
Are there meetings set up or
No,
contact people?
this was just to sort of get a little bit more context about the very basics before we decide if we want to do more exploring. So there hasn't been anything further set up.
And the county people you talked with, like Lindsay, they would be a source with work.
Yeah.
You would suggest that you start there.
I think given that she's been through it and given that she said she has capacity to support it, if we want to go down this road, then I think that yes. But I do agree with Nate that somebody from the city needs to be part of that conversation from the very beginning if we want to continue to explore it, because it's going to be a staff commitment on the city's part no matter what. I mean, whether it's just helping to engage different parts of the community, I think we're going to have to know what that looks like. That's my perspective. But.
I agree. Great initiative. Will take a lot of work. The city needs to be behind it. So I think the follow-up you mentioned is the right one.
Is anyone interested in kind of taking this on as a?
Can we think about it and put it in the minutes maybe, and then bring it up at the next meeting? Because there's a bunch of people gone today too. Unless somebody right here wants to jump right in.
Unless there's someone who wants to
I'd
step
have it in
up
the minutes.
today.
We'll think about it.
Okay, well, yeah, then let's consider it, think about it, and also then the people who aren't here are able to read about it a little bit in the minutes, and we'll
Yeah.
see if they have an interest in it too. We'll touch briefly on it next time, just to check on that, and I think that would be great if we could be involved, but it is a commitment, so it's probably good to think about it. Okay. Anything else about that topic? No?
Thanks for the follow-up. That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Sounds like a really
Awesome.
good program, but yeah, a lot of work. So.
Could I get your phone number?
Sure.
Okay, I'll take it down now.
Oh, okay.
You may, since we are on live.
Oh, yes. How about I give it to you afterwards?
You may want to wait till
Yeah,
after.
I'm sorry.
I mean, but yes. Sounds good.
Okay, so moving on, our next item is, we've talked about that this year's initiative is going to focus on homelessness. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about how we're going to tie that into the events that we have planned. Right now, we have the powwow that we're hopefully being a part of. We have River City Days, and the Martin Luther King breakfast next winter. Is there a certain aspect of homelessness that we think we need to bring to this? I mean, what's our hope of, by having an overall theme? What is our hope that we're gonna do with that? By bringing it to each of the events that we're involved in?
Awareness of homelessness in the community.
So do we think that maybe, do we want literature about it? Do we want to try to get speakers about this? Or I guess I'm just kind of,
Well, it would depend on what we were doing for River City Days. Didn't he had some literature we could put out there, and I'll be a little informed, so when we man the booth, we can talk about it.
okay. I just think that's something that we need to think about, because we did talk about that we want to have sort of a theme to tie into all of our things this year. So when we're planning these things, I think it's important that we are intentional about including that in the educational pieces that we're providing. I guess this doesn't have to be a real long discussion, but I think it should be.
Yeah, I think the key right now is, number one, establishing what Lisa said, that we want to have that be the message and awareness. So that's the goal. That would be great. So then it comes down to the event. So the powwow, I don't think any of us are going to be there.
Right.
So then the question is, do we want to have information there, along with the information that they'll be handing out at the week? We could try to do that. That one may be difficult. The others, though, as I look at River City Days, that's a great opportunity, because we'll have a booth, and so then it comes down to then making sure we have a really strong plan around that booth. You know, what's the signage on the booth? That could be all around homelessness. You know, there could be, you know, some sort of a fun game to help people, educate people on homelessness. I like what Dave's point was, which was he's lived in the community for a while, and he was really surprised at the level of homelessness. So
Right.
clearly, there's an issue of awareness. The last two are opportunities not just for literature, but for speakers. So I didn't go to the Heritage Day, but, you know, so I'd have to learn more about that. But certainly with the MLK breakfast, we really didn't have a guest speaker at the first one. This time, we got a lot of time to plan and really get a really strong speaker for that event. And we can work with the speaker to make sure there's a theme for the breakfast so that it is specific to homelessness. So I think if we, you know, we can do it, it's just a matter of, we probably need to make sure each person that's accountable for these items, you know, understand we need to have that theme.
Right.
Well, I don't know, but the MLK breakfast is in 2018, and we talked about hunger being the focus in 2018.
Oh, good point,
maybe.
good point. Yeah, are we talking a rolling 12, or are we talking a calendar 12? That's a good point.
That's a good question.
I think the information, a lot of the information we heard tonight, we were surprised at it. So that could be somehow included in our literature. So I don't think we really have to search very far for
Right.
local
Yeah,
information.
keep it right here in Chaska,
Yeah.
so much is happening. And I think the whole point is that I wanted to say is that I just think it's important that we remember that we did choose a theme for this year, and so we should really try to keep it somehow tied to when we're doing these different activities and events.
So
I think
do
if
we
you,
want to, go ahead.
if you're looking to get, you know, some sort of literature about the topic of homelessness together, you know, one of our local experts is Jen Romero, who works for the county on this topic. You know, she may be someone to reach out to and see, maybe she's got something put together, or she can at least provide some information that would be easy enough to put into, you know, a document that would be shareable.
Yeah.
That could be one place to start.
Yeah. Then the other thing might be, as the chairperson, I'm guessing you could say that for each of these events, that the person who's sort of coordinating from our team needs to come either a month before the event or at some point that you deem appropriate with a plan that does show how we're tying in. Because I think if we leave it up to memory, it's going to be difficult. I think it needs to be structured to where you, as the chairperson, would say, hey, for next month's agenda, we would like to see, you know, from Robert, what's the plan to leverage homelessness in the cultural heritage event, that type of thing. You know,
Okay.
from Lisa in May, we want to see what's the plan for River City Days. That to me would probably bring a little bit more structure to make sure that we leverage it in the appropriate way.
I think that's a good idea. Well, our next meeting is in May, so I guess what I would say to that then is, Lisa and Robert, would you like to please look into how we can tie these things in with the upcoming events in July? So we can kind of talk about it and have it.
Well, actually, since, well, that's on the agenda, but with the cultural heritage, the River City Days event, there's been some changes at the River City Days Board, some discussions.
Oh.
And now it appears the second annual will not go forward. So, so that should be taken off the table.
Taken off.
Okay.
So it sounds like we're going to make a big bang at River City Days overall.
Lisa, could you please look into that and maybe reach
My
out
mind's already
to,
racing.
yeah, to Jen Romero? Is that what you said?
And I can help that connection if you'd like.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
I imagine Jen's watching tonight anyway, so she probably.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, Jen?
Okay, can we move on to the next item? Donzo, would you like to update us on anything new with the powwow in May?
Sure. It's an exciting time. I heard from Kate this week and the powwow is well on its way to being a great event. I actually have a draft of the flyer that I'll pass around for you guys to take a look
I got
at.
that in an email from the school.
I was gonna
Oh,
say, school
fantastic.
district is sponsoring it,
Fantastic.
is that?
Yeah, so it's the first annual Chaska Wasipi Powwow, and it's March 19th to 20th.
May,
Grand-
right?
May 19th to 20th. Grand entry Saturday, 1 PM and 7, Sunday, 1 PM. And they will have the Oyate Teka host drum, and the Southside Ramblers will also co-host. It will be at the Chaska Middle School West Soccer Stadium. I think most people know that's off of Highway 41 in Angler. And remember, they were asking if one of us could be a contact for questions. They did find someone to do that. So the contact is Mary Jo Nairn, and her phone number is 953-556-6230, and that's on the flyer. The thing they're asking if we could do, I was trying to get a hold of Kate today to get the additional flyers. They're printing these flyers, and they would like us to do anything we can to get them publicized throughout the community. Post them, hand them out, do anything we can. So as soon as I get the flyers, I will make sure and deliver them to you folks as soon as I can.
Is there an
yeah.
electronic copy we could put
There
it,
is.
like under the?
I will send that
our
on to you on email.
website?
I'll do that on email. So there's an electronic copy. I will send that to
Well,
you.
I mean, I can't change our website, can I? I mean, I don't know who can.
Nate can.
Nate,
But maybe
Nate?
he can attach it
Nate?
to our website or something.
Hey, Nate?
you know?
Is there, yeah, could we we have a soft copy of the flyer? Can we attach it to the website? That's a great idea.
yeah.
So that'll be very, very helpful for folks. I'm hoping people are watching this and they're getting excited about it. But in terms of other things that they've asked for, remember we said we would provide snacks for the elders. So I do have about a case and a half of some General Mills snacks, some granola bars and things of that nature. What I did tell Kate is that we would buy some water, and if there's any additional snacks we want to buy. So if someone wants to do that, that's great. If not, if I have the permission to do it, I will buy the waters and additional snacks. I'll deliver those to Kate, because I won't be here that weekend. And then, by the way, our name is listed as a co-sponsor, so it's sponsored by ECCS, American Indian Parent Advisory Committee, ECCS Community Education, and Chaska Human Rights Commission. So that is on the flyer. And this flyer was designed actually by a 13-year-old member of the Wasipi community. Beautiful flyer.
Nice.
Yeah.
How many, or how much water are they asking for and stuff, so we,
Not a lot, not a lot. So I'm thinking a couple of cases or something like that.
okay.
Yeah. So it's not gonna be a big cash outlay. Like I said, I have already about a case and a half of granola bars. So there may be a couple other things I might get, but I'm guessing we're talking less than $100 in total or something like that, would be my guess. I'll catch up with Kate again, tell her what I have, make sure we collaborate on what's needed. But my plan was I'd get the snacks, the water, and deliver them to her, and then she could take them to the powwow, again, unless someone else here wants to do that, but I'll be out of town.
Yeah, so I'm going to recommend, before you spend any of your own dollars, let's talk about the best way to set you up so that you're sure to either get reimbursed, or maybe it makes more sense for someone from the city to just go out and make that purchase.
Great.
With a city card, and then you don't have to
So-
worry about getting reimbursed.
Great, and I have the granola bars in the car, I could give those to you tonight as well.
Okay, all right.
So
You'll have to
are,
let me know
Okay.
who we need to drop them off with and
Yep.
all of that, but
I'll take care of that.
yeah, yep. So we can coordinate on that, Don.
Perfect, that's fantastic. But it sounds like it's gonna be a great event.
so would you suggest that we vote on approving a dollar amount up to like $100 or something, and allow the whoever buys it to spend up to that much?
I think that's a good approach. It's gonna be hard to, just don't know the exact amounts for a
Right.
case of water and that sort of thing, so,
Right.
yeah. I think that'd be helpful.
I like the approach, though, of having Nate or someone from the city going ahead and taking care of it.
Yep.
It seems like it would be a lot less logistics
Yes.
involved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so just let me know where and when it needs to be
Yes.
dropped off.
Yes.
And we'll do the granola bar exchange out back
Got them in the car
after the sun's
today.
down.
In the
All right.
parking lot.
I was anticipating that I might be
Yeah.
able to drop them off. So,
Perfect.
So how much money do we need a motion for?
We don't know, so.
Up
I
to
think what we could do is
$100?
just,
I would say it's less than $100. So no,
Up to
I'd say no
$100?
more than $100. Yeah, up to $100. That's what I would say.
So we needed a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to approve funding of up to $100 for snacks and water for the Wasipi powwow.
I seconded.
Second. All in favor of approving up to $100 for the snacks?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, up to $100 is approved.
All right, great.
You know, it doesn't say who, it really doesn't say who it's for, does it? Who it's for?
Donzel, do you have a PDF version?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so if you could email that to me.
Okay.
That's all we need to get that posted to the web.
Perfect.
I think we could probably do something on our social media outlets.
I'll do that right now.
Okay, Lisa, would you like to update us on any River City Days activity?
Well, apparently I'll have a bigger update next month. But I did talk with Carol for American Solutions for Business about stuff. Quick question though, one thing she talked about first, if we want to get things with our name on it, is there like a logo or a type font for the Human Rights Commission?
There is a logo, like, if you want to pull out some of Judy's
Oh.
business cards there's a logo that goes onto that, so we could
It's
use.
taped.
Oh, sorry.
There's one on
Oh,
the
wait,
front,
there's
yeah,
one on the
there's
front.
Yeah, there you go. So we could
Here, we can
use, and I
pass
think
it
that
around.
might appear on our web page in some
She
spots.
said
here.
well, yeah, if it's two colors, the simpler, the better, and cheaper. So I could get that, but the only other question would be, is a budget, how much do you want to spend on things? She has little like sunglasses through her. If we bought 150 normally, it'd be $2.15. Through her, we can get for $1.65 each. Like sunglasses with a little logo on the side. Tattoos that are kind of generic. Little flashy light things for $1.29. For what is minimum order, 250. I don't know how much kind of things we want and if we want to keep them for future stuff. If you make a big buy now, we can use them for next year too, maybe. Or at the MLK breakfast, have them there. Is there a dollar amount that we think we want to do? Or
When it comes to like the city, when they have swag or whatever at River City Days, how many items do they usually go through?
I don't recall how much,
Do you have swag?
well, so the last couple of years, we've had these sort of, just for River City Days, these little rubber wrist bracelets, yeah, and then they've got a blinking little bit on them that say Chaska Rocks, and they're in different colors, and the kids really get excited about that.
I have a few.
So they've gone over well. So you've collected
I
all
have
the
a few,
colors.
yes.
That's good. And so I don't remember how many we ordered. I think it was maybe a couple hundred, and it's lasted a couple River City Days now to do that. So I think, if you had 100 items to give out for this year, that's probably going to be plenty. But sometimes there's value in purchasing for a couple of years just because of the per item cost goes down when you do it that way. So.
when she said through her, we'd get the best pricing. The lowest they would offer is $250 for these blinking things, but we could get the $5,000 price because she does all the bulk stuff. But maybe I talk to her and find something. Well, see, I was gonna look into something about a house or something housing, but if that's only our thing this year and next year it's hunger, that doesn't
And
translate.
do we want 250?
Yeah,
hours,
right.
I would,
It was
Yeah.
hard to get her started on anything without having a kind of an idea of a budget first.
Sure. This could be another item, we're in April now. You know, we could think about an up to amount there, to provide for that leeway to make a decision. I don't know if the group feels like they want to be involved in deciding on what the item is. Or
That
if you're
would
more
be easy
concerned
to
about the
email
dollar
out
amount.
though too. Once I have a dollar amount, I can get started and I can send emails out too during the month.
We do have to be cognizant of open meeting laws, and making decisions over email. Can be a little bit of a challenge, so we do have to be careful about that. Yeah,
Could we
they're
come
the
to a
law, so.
decision and then like verify it the next meeting? Can we?
I think if the group knows what they want to purchase tonight, we could make the decision tonight. If you want to do an up to amount and you're not concerned about what the item is, that would be an option. But you either make a decision or you don't, so.
does anyone have a strong feeling about something that they would want to do, or should we have Lisa just kind of decide on the item and we decide on a dollar amount that we're willing to use from our budget?
If you, if we could decide maybe on a budget amount, I could come to the next meeting with some different options and we could choose then.
I like that idea. If we give you like a tentative, does it have to be a fixed amount, or can we say tentative?
I don't think that you necessarily have to vote on the dollar amount tonight. So if the group just sort of by consensus thinks, I don't know, $250 sounds good, that gives Lisa some direction to kind of go forward and come up with a recommendation at the next meeting.
Firm it up the next meeting.
And this is for the entire River City Days event, or what? This is for
It
everything?
would
you
be
need?
Little
for-
giveaways.
The giveaways. Because I thought we also, I mean, the tent seems like it needs some is there any marketing we want to do? Or is it, I'm just trying to make sure you're just not looking at giveaways because we may not give you a big enough budget, is kind of what I'm trying
Well,
to
and I
make sure.
think she does, if we want a big sign, there is a big sign though, isn't there? Or,
I don't remember it being very visible or colorful.
I can bring the sign next month
Okay.
so we can look at it.
okay.
I think right now, we just want to give her an idea of what we can allow for the giveaways only.
Okay. Okay.
Does that sound right to you?
Mhm.
And then we're going to have some literature on homelessness? Are
Oh,
we?
yes. I will
But right now,
contact
you only
Jen
want
Romero.
us to come back next time on giveaways, not the full strategy for how you want to kind of really make River City Days bigger about homelessness. That's kind of why I was asking, do we want
Oh.
to give her?
Well, it's
go ahead.
kind of two things. I'll
Okay.
come back with this and then I'll also come back with
Okay,
that.
okay.
How about,
All right.
Lisa, how
Unless
about if
there's a
we,
small chance my daughter might have her capstone
Okay.
in a month, so.
how about if we meet sometime before the next meeting? And I show you what kind of things are down in the basement. And then when we come to the next meeting, you could kind of have this is what we have, this is what I envision kind of thing, so that we have a good idea and we don't keep saying, oh, at the next meeting, we're gonna talk about it.
Okay.
So after the $100, we still have like almost $1,900 in, so I would be comfortable in saying like look at something cap of 300 and just come back
Yes.
with some options within that, no
Yes.
more than that. Is that helpful?
Okay, and that, an idea, and I'll come back with some options then, yeah.
Good.
And I'm also, sounded like there's a chance you may not be able to attend next meeting. If that is the case, let me know or Jen so we can at least present what you found. I think come next meeting, we're already into, May?
May.
You're gonna come
So
back
we are
with
gonna have to make a
recommendations.
decision and make an order if that's the direction you all wanna go.
Right.
So that you've got, your items that you're planning to have.
Right, that's why I was trying to
can-
wonder if
Yeah.
it should be more than just the giveaways, if it's really the, you know, do we want to change the signage, is there anything we want to do, because we are getting close.
Right.
The sign looks sort of wrecky.
Yes.
I mean, it would be nice to have a really classy sign.
And I think Miss Carol could take care of that for us too.
Is the tent that we use provided by the city?
Yeah.
Okay. Wasn't sure if that was yours or, the tent? Like
No, that's the city's.
Okay. All right.
So, I think we need to clarify a few things here. The $300, there was one suggestion that was not agreed upon. So any outlay of the budget should be voted. And I, for one, am not comfortable voting for something because I thought we were going to decide on what to purchase tonight. So that's not the case. I mean, if you want to put it to a vote, that's fine. But I would have to abstain and
Robert, I think there
So when
wasn't
it
a
comes
plan
to-
to vote tonight. There was a plan to just say, Lisa, when you look at what we're
Right, but
gonna
as
spend
I-
our money on,
Right, but
Look
but
up to
but if
this
we're giving
amount.
Lisa $300 amount, then that is tacitly giving approval for $300. or up
but
to
she's not gonna
300.
buy it right now. She's
Right.
gonna
Just do research.
find out, do we wanna pay $300 for 500 stickers, or whatever it is?
Right.
And she'll give us what our money could be used for next month.
Right, so it doesn't really make sense to say the dollar amount without knowing what we're going to purchase, or how, or for what.
We're just giving her an amount to look at what items would be available for that amount. She's not gonna spend any money yet.
I know that, and I didn't say that. I'm just saying that it's just go ahead and come back with some options and prices so that we could decide on it. I think that's the best straightforward way to go.
Right, yep.
I think that's what the plan is. Is that what you're thinking? Okay. Okay, so no votes on that tonight or anything, and then next month you'll have all kinds of
Lisa?
details?
Do you think it's possible, or does the group, to have a giveaway that promotes homelessness, doesn't promote, but states homelessness? Because why are we giving away something that doesn't have any meaning?
Right, so it would be good to have some options to see what it is and how much before we decide, yeah.
I would like to. One thing is that if you buy 200 of something or 100 of something, they don't necessarily let you buy less than that. We'll have leftovers for the next year and the year after, where our theme might be different. But I'll look into seeing how we can.
Although one thing to
Understand.
keep in mind is homelessness is a human rights issue, whether it's our
Whether it's
theme
our
that
theme
year
or
or
not,
not.
that's true.
So we could still continue things on from year to year.
Yeah. That's not going to be solved by next summer.
Well, if it is, that's okay, isn't it?
I mean, sorry to make an issue of this.
No, that's a good point, Barb. All right.
Great, man, I think it's good. I mean, I think it's good that we're having a discussion around how we can leverage River City Days. We got focused. So I think this is great, and I look forward to next month.
Putting the pressure on you, Lisa.
I didn't feel pressure till now, but okay.
Let me know if you have a need for help too, because I know that's a big job, so.
Look, I saw the second.
And I love River City Days, so I'd be happy to help.
Thank you.
This, I really like it.
Okay, so Robert, you said that the Heritage Day will not be going forward this
Yep.
year, so we can take that off our agenda for tonight.
And, yeah, tonight and going forward.
Okay. If there's ever an update about it, then just let us know, because we'd love to hear about it. And then the next item on our agenda was the MLK breakfast with an update from Jeff, who isn't here anymore. So I think the first thing we need to talk about is there someone who would like to be the point person for the MLK breakfast?
Well, I'll talk to Jeff to see if he had ideas for this next year.
And he's definitely wants to work with us
Yeah.
still on it, so,
I'll make a point of visiting with him about it,
okay, that would be great, Barb.
unless he's too busy.
He's got a lot going on right now.
Yeah, he might be too busy to.
Yeah, I've talked to Jeff
Okay.
since he turned in his resignation. And I know he has a passion for the MLK Day breakfast. He thinks it's a great event. He sees a lot of benefit and crossover with the business community, a lot of reason for the business community to support it. So I'm certain, Barbara, if you'd give Jeff a call, call up his office at the Southwest Metro Chamber, and I know he'll make time to talk about this topic, so you shouldn't be worried about that.
So Barbara, you thinking you'd be willing to be the point for the HRC, working with Jeff as long as he stays?
Yes.
That'd be great. I think that'd be fantastic.
Thank you.
Well,
The other item, sub-item on that is starting to think about nominees for the Chaska Human Rights Award. This will be an ongoing thing. We have several months until the actual breakfast. But if anyone comes up with anyone they think we should take a look at for nominations, please bring them up at the meetings so we can discuss that, or,
And Chairperson, I have a question. Are there any requirements or limitations on who can and cannot be nominated? For instance, can a city council person not be nominated? Can a HRC commissioner be or
I
not be
believe
nominated? Is
a
it open to
commissioner
anyone?
cannot. I think I read that in the handbook, or in the rule page.
Yeah, there is a rule page that goes out and sort of sets out guidelines for nominations. I don't have that in front of me, and I don't have it.
It is on the
It's not
HRC website, though.
Okay.
Yep.
We can bring copies next time, but you
Yep.
can look it up on the HRC website. I know it can be a group or an individual. I think it has to be, within the city of Chaska. And
But
I
it
think,
cannot be a serving commissioner or a serving city
right,
council
a
member?
presently, yeah. I think it can be a former commissioner.
Yeah, I would have to look.
Yeah, I would have to reread it to get the details.
I think it would be valuable to bring that maybe to the next meeting.
Yeah,
and I'll
I
just
can do that.
refresh, what that looks like. The other thing I'm gonna suggest is, it probably wouldn't hurt for this group to think about if you want to have a keynote speaker, ideas of who that person could be. We are into April now. It seems like next February is probably far off, but it'll come sooner than we think. And it's likely that folks who we may see as prime candidates may be prime candidates for other MLK events. And so we probably want to get on their calendar if we can. I don't have any suggestions tonight, so sorry for that, but probably something that's
Good
worth
point
thinking
to
about.
think about it, yeah. Okay, so Barbara will reach out to Jeff, and I will bring the nomination form next month, so we can all look it over. And we'll,
And it's online, so even before then, you could just go there and read it. It's online. It's on the city's webpage.
okay, does anyone have any new business for tonight?
I do.
Uh-oh.
Want to remind you all, we need to appoint someone, or a decision needs to be made about how that's going to happen. Typically, the way that would work is an alternate would, what we need to do is appoint an alternate into a permanent position to fill Jeff's spot. A lot of times how that would happen, though, is, alternates are typically not appointed at the same time, and so whoever's been longest standing would just move into that position. The reason why we're in a different situation is that we've got Sarah Carlson and Lisa here, who were appointed at the same time. And so that's not available to us. So we need to make a decision about who would fill Jeff's spot through a nomination and a vote process would be my recommendation, similar to how we've done the chair, the vice chair, and the other positions.
Are both interested in becoming full-time members?
I don't know
Do we
that it's fair without Sarah here.
Yeah, unfortunately,
It feels
Sarah's not
uncomfortable
here.
without her here.
I haven't spoken with Sarah about where her thought process is at, and I haven't spoken to you either, so I guess I can't answer that question. But
Okay.
and I think if we want to wait, we've got enough folks to make a quorum. We've got the alternates available to vote when there's not someone present. So I think we've got some room to think it through a little bit if we want to do that.
I would feel more comfortable if Sarah and Lisa were here to discuss it, so we know what their thoughts are on the topic.
Sure.
Table it till next time.
That sounds good. We don't have to make a motion for that, do we?
We don't have to.
Okay.
We're not typically that formal of a group. If you feel like you want to do that just to memorialize that it should be on the next agenda, we can do that. Otherwise, we'll just agree to put it on the next agenda. I think that's
Okay,
fine.
let's put it on the next agenda, Kaylee. Because you guys, it's just like a little after 8, and we are at our adjourned part
All right,
of the
great
meeting.
job.
Go back to work.
You wanna
Oh, I'll
look
do
through the
that,
records?
yeah. If there's nothing else, then I need a motion to adjourn.
I motion we adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have 8 o'clock on the dot,
Opposed?
actually.
All
All
right.
right.
My
Well
first
done.
Yeah. Nice job.